Well, hey, neighbor, it's me, Angie. Come on in. We have to have the neighborhood chat inside today because James is on the outside cutting grass. I love it when he cuts the grass, but it always rains right after he cuts it. And it's supposed to rain today. Anyway, I'm so glad that you have come over today. Get your drink. Refrigerator's right over there. You can see it from here. Snack, whatever you need, and we're right here at the table. And guess what day it is? You have actually come over on mine and James's wedding anniversary. I know. We have been married 36 years today. I can't believe it. 36 years. I've not done anything for 36 years. I guess now I can say I've been married for 36 years. But, as I reflect back on that, we've had our beautiful, wonderful times where, we got married and you go through that, oh, I'm so in love. And, you go through that stage and then you start having children. And you go through the children, the little toddlers, and then you go to the tweens and the teens, and then they go off to college, and then they get married. And that's where we are right now. Both of our children are married, out on their own. Our son has a little girl, Berkeley Scott. She's my heart. But we've seen a lot over 36 years. Now, have we had our times where we just thought, oh my goodness, get away from me. I can't live with you any longer. Of course we did. Anybody that says they've been married as long as James and I have and tells you that they've never had a disagreement, I would say they really wasn't married, because you're going to have disagreements. And we've had our share of disagreements. But we've always worked it out, no matter how long it took, no matter what it took. We have stood strong. And I'm so happy we did, because now we're getting to see the other side of how beautiful it is to get to close to retirement age, which of course I had to retire early, but he's going to retire in a few years. And of course, I never dreamed I'd be in a wheelchair, And tomorrow I celebrate my 56th birthday. And I never dreamed on my 56th birthday that I would actually be in a wheelchair. I say that every year. But a few years ago, if you would have told me that I'd been bound to a wheelchair, I would have told you there was no way. So what I'm trying to tell you is, we don't know what's ahead of us. And a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to know the future. I'd like to know what the future holds for me. I don't want to know. I want to live for now. Because if I would have seen that I was going to be in a wheelchair a few years ago, oh my goodness, what would it have done to me? I may not have wanted to live. There's just some things you don't need to see before the timing. Timing is everything. If you see things before it's time, then it can just cause damage to your growing mentally, emotionally. Just like a young child, they shouldn't sit around the adults when they're young and listen to the conversation. When we were young and we would walk up where the adults were, they would say, go play. Go outside and go play. We're adults. You don't need to be in this conversation. When my children were growing up, I treated them the same exact way. They never even knew how the light bill was paid until they got up into high school, or I just felt like they needed to be a child, and when the time was right, they would learn about things that was appropriate for their age. Some people talk to their young child about the relationship they're in. with a female or a male, that child doesn't need to know about that relationship. You need to keep that to yourself. And people that say, "Oh my," they'll have an 8-year-old daughter or something. They'll say, "She's my best friend." Now you may disagree with me on this, but no, she's not your best friend. She's your child. She can't be your best friend unless you have a mind of an 8-year-old, because you don't need to be sharing adult things with an 8-year-old child. You need to let her be a child. I understand that you love her, but you can say, "This is my daughter." And to me, saying a daughter is a lot better than saying, "This is my best friend." Don't put such burdens on your children at such young age, because when they get older, they will not be able to deal with it. They'll have anxiety, stress. That's just like my granddaughter. When she's here, we let her walk around with her little sippy cup without a lid on it, to teach her that she can drink, and she loves it because she feels like she is drinking like we are, without a lid. And she does really, really well. And sometimes a little bit will get on the floor and she'll just, look at us like, "Oh my gosh," and we'll go, "It's okay, baby. We can clean it up. Don't worry about it." Now, my son and daughter-in-law, I don't think, want her to walk around the house with a cup without a lid on it, because they would have to be going behind her cleaning up all the time, and they both have a full-time job. And I remember when I was, my kids were younger, and James and I both had a full-time job. We didn't want to clean up a lot of unnecessary messes either. But Berkeley needs to learn that it's okay to spill things. It's not the end of the world. It's okay to knock something off and it break, and it's not the end of the world. Children don't need to panic when they do something that they think is going to upset an adult. We have children. We know they're going to do things. And we know that, here I am, 56 years old, and I still go without sleep because of my children. When you have children, you never, ever sleep again like you did before you had children. You just don't. The other night when my daughter was going through having the bad headache and throwing up, and we didn't know what was wrong with her, she started texting me at 9 p.m. At 11 p.m., she was texting me again. Okay, I'm normally asleep by 9:30 at night. Well, I had not went to sleep from 9 to 11 because I was worried about, I wasn't worried. I was concerned about what was going on out there at her house, knowing that I didn't have the ability to get in my car and drive out there to her because I can't drive. I'm in a wheelchair. That always upsets me more. I never think about being in a wheelchair until one of my children need me to be there physically for them. So I just told her to go lay down and try to get some rest. She said, "Okay, Mama," in a text. She said, "Okay, Mom, I think I will. I just thrown up and I feel better." Okay. Well, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake. I dozed off and on, and I kept just praying that, Lord, please let her feel better. Let us find out what's wrong with her. She's been going through this for months. And at 3 o'clock, and I'm still awake, she texts me and says, "Mama, I'm dying. I can't even move. I can't get up." Well, by then, I've already had no sleep, and I've went my limit. And I said, either you get Brent up, that's her husband, that's my son-in-law, and you go either north to the hospital, or you go south to a hospital, or I'm calling your dad to come home from work and get you and take you to the hospital. She wakes her husband up, and I don't know why she had not waken him up before I guess she thought it was just going to pass, which that's the way I am. When I get sick, I never wake James up. I just deal with it till I just can't deal with it anymore and have to wake him up. So I can understand that. So they get in the car and they head toward Louisiana to where my daughter-in-law is over the pharmacy in the ICU, to that hospital. They get there. My son-in-law texted about 5 and said, we're here. She has thrown up the whole trip. Something is bad wrong with her. So they get her in the emergency room and they start asking her questions. They realize that she has a shunt. They do a shunt, which is where you have hydrocephalus. That means you have fluid on the brain. She's had a shunt since she was 12 days old, and it only lasts so many years, and then you have to have it replaced. Well, she thought it was that. They did a CT, an MRI, and the neurosurgeon comes back and says, oh my gosh, it's perfect. She has no hydrocephalus because the shunt is doing what it's supposed to do. And her ventricles are very small. Her brain is perfect, which we knew that because she's perfect. Then when they said it wasn't that, my mind goes to, oh my goodness, what is it? Well, they start drawing blood and doing blood work and, asking her all these questions, which we're not there. We're headed down there to get my granddaughter so my son and daughter-in-law can go to the hospital. Once they realized that she was my daughter-in-law's sister-in-law, everything changed. They started doing everything, every test you can imagine. Well, they do blood work. They come back and they say, your sodium is just so dangerously low that we can't believe that you've made it here to let us be able to check it, because you can die from low sodium, low potassium, just all her electrolytes were just out of whack. Well, her other doctors, her neurologist and all the other doctors were not checking that. They were more focused on her brain because of her shunt. So they wasn't pulling blood, and plus, every time she would have one of her spells, by the time she got to the hospital, it was over, and they couldn't find anything because she had already had the, passing out, the bad headache and throwing up and all that, and it was over. But what I'm saying is, when you have children, it doesn't matter how old they get. You still want to be with them when they're sick, and you want to take care of them. You want them to get help. You don't want them to be sick. You're concerned about their life. My son's 32 years old. He just had back surgery. I literally cried the day that he had surgery because I couldn't be down there with him. Same way when Taylor went to the emergency room. I cried like a baby because I couldn't get in my car and go out there and be with them when she went to the hospital. I sat here at home and I prayed and I said, Lord, please take care of my children each time something would happen, and he did. But life is a group of different circumstances and trials and great times and wonderful times and all of these things we go through that make us who we are, that make up me. I mean, as an individual, I have been through things that my kids never have even heard about and will probably never know. Not that I wouldn't share it with them, it's never come up in conversation. I mean, I'm an open book. If they ask me a question, I would tell them. I'm not going to hide anything from my children. That's why I'm saying, be who you are. Don't try to be something you're not. Don't live miserably every day. Wake up and smell the roses and listen to the birds sing and laugh. I mean, I was over at Josie's and Dawn's and Dee's auction last night. We laughed so much. They got to laughing so much till the chat was laughing. We just had such a good time. And that's what it's about. Sometimes you just have to let your hair down and have a good time. Stop being bitter and angry. And if you are those things, figure out why. Because if you're angry and bitter, somebody's controlling you. Because you are angry and bitter at somebody that's done something to you. And if that's the case, you need to reconcile that so you can move on. You need to move on from that bitterness and anger because you want to enjoy life, don't you? You want to get out there and laugh. You know, like really laugh from your gut. Like really, that's funny. You want to have peace. You know, I can't imagine my life without having peace. You know, some people are walking around and they don't have it. They live in fear of something in the world happening, and they're not going to know what it is, and it's going to be harmful, and, you know, and some people live in fear of somebody they live with, something that they've hidden that they don't want people to know. Don't live in fear. Fear is the opposite of faith, and those two things cannot be in the same room. I'm here to tell you they can't. You know, and I don't know what it would take for people to understand how to love themselves. You know, some people don't even love themselves. They don't even think they're worthy of anything. Worthy to even be around other people. You know, some people they feel inferior toward other people. They're intimidated by other people. I mean, I don't understand why. I can understand it, but I don't understand why somebody wouldn't want to work through that. To be able to conquer whatever is holding them back from being who they truly are. I'm speaking from experience. I've done that in my life. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I got fingers pointing back at me. Because everything that I tell you, I have lived. I have lived it. I don't know, as a teenager, I just felt like I never belonged because I felt like I wasn't meant to be here because I was a result of a one-night stand, and I felt like I was never really wanted. But really, I didn't ask to be here. I was a result of something, of a choice that two people made. I was the result of that. I didn't do anything wrong. And really, nothing was done wrong, except the fact that, well, these two people were not married, and then I was a result of that. But giving a baby, a newborn baby, is so innocent. It's nothing wrong with that baby. They come here a blank slate. And whatever you do to that child, you're painting things into them of who they become. You know, the things you do to them, a little child, is what they become. That's why you have to be careful about what you say, how you act, what you do, how you treat others in front of them. You know, do you have integrity? Are you going to lie and that child know that you lied? Um, there's so much involved when you have children. So, and I know that we're going around to different subjects today and we're going all over the board, but I'm just trying to reminisce about the past 56 years that I have spent in my life of random things that I have had to go through or deal with. I know that I have so many beautiful, wonderful days ahead of me, but I also know there's going to be times that I'm going to need to call on God and say, you know, I need you more now than ever, because He walks with me every day and He's right there and I depend on Him every day. But sometimes when you're going through things, you want to get a little closer to Him or a little closer to someone that you love more and you trust more. Be careful who you love and trust, because I don't know if you've ever been betrayed, but it's not fun. It's not something you can't get over, but make sure the person that you are confiding in, especially someone you haven't known very long, because you know, once it's out there, it's out there. And you really can't be mad at the person once they reveal who they really are and they start telling everything about what you told them that you didn't want them told. You can't blame them really, because you had not really known them long enough to confide in them with all your inner thoughts. And there are some people that you can trust and they'll go to their grave with what you tell them. And that's the type of person I want to be. And I think I'm pretty much like that, because whatever you tell me, it's your story to tell. It's not my story to go around and gossip and tell, you know, what's going on in your life. If you confide in me and tell me something, then you don't even have to say, now don't tell anybody. Because I'm not going to tell anybody anyway. Because I know that's your story. And it's not for me to talk about. You know, you can really damage somebody by them trusting you and you betray that trust. And also, you're pretending to be their friend. I mean, how sorry is that? I see that all the time on YouTube. You know, people that aren't real, that's just pretending. And sometimes I wish I didn't see things like that, but I can spot it a mile away. But I never say anything. And I'm not going to say anything. Now, if somebody comes to me and says, you know, this and this happened, what do you think? I may respond to it. But until that happens, we're all adults. And we're going to have to learn who people are on our own. Because you can tell somebody all day long how another person is. But if they're real good friends with them and they are their friend, but the other person is not their friend, they're not going to listen to you. They're not. So don't try to convince somebody to not be around somebody. And let's just use YouTube, for instance, because you think they're bad for them to be around, because they're going to do what they're going to do. And then they're going to be mad at you for even bringing it up. You know, YouTube is a wonderful place to get to know people, but it also can be a very bad place if we allow people to bully us, talk bad about us, act like they like us when they don't, gossip behind our back. Please don't tell all your private information to somebody that is not even worthy to know it. Because I'm telling you, you have value and you're worth more than that. And you don't have to confide in somebody for you to have friends. You don't have to lower your standards or be someone's footstool for them to walk all over just so you can have a friend. That's not even the way you have a friend. Just remember that. Don't let anybody treat you less than who they are, because you're not. And with that being said, neighbor, you know I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Now I'm going to be going live tomorrow at 10:30 and we're going to celebrate my birthday. And I hope to see you there. Like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe. Share me out. And I'll see you at my birthday party. Bye, neighbor.